faces the winner of these games. So, as I was saying, Iridium over here, that is Melkor, the Irish player. And over here in the green colour is Hera, playing as Sorry About That, or About That, as I'm sure it's intended to be. Not sure what sort of accent that is. But yeah, both of these players are very experienced Huns war players. Hera, though, is a very young player who has had a sort of meteoric rise to top 1v1 status in recent times. He's known primarily for playing in Hun wars, but obviously he's played lots of other settings at a very high level too, with the Canada Nations Cup team most notably. We're going to have a little look at the maps now just to see how that might favour each player, or what sort of strategies that might be suggested. What sort of strategies might be suggested by the maps. Of course, your map doesn't define your strategy, but it can play a large part, especially your opponent's map, on what you decide to do to them. I'd say that Iridium has a reasonably decent map, because these wood lines are going to be quite safe. They're fairly sizable, and towards the back of the map, with this cliff as well, it kind of allows him the potential to restrict Hera's ability to just run around this side of the map, especially if he came forward and did, say, walls are here and then maybe some buildings across here. It'll allow him to protect his main gold. So I'd say his map is not too bad at all. Over here, though, Hera has been has opted to take a very forward lumber camp, which will require him to defend it later on. It does mean that he's going to be defending the same area as his main gold, but the fact that that main gold is kind of on the downslope of a hill meant that it could be vulnerable later in the game. But the thing is, he's already signalling his intention to sort of push into this area and make sure he locks this area down, because that's going to be his priority here, because he doesn't want to lose both wood and gold in one fell blow, as is very much possible. Beyond that, though, it's looking extremely open. That's his only sizable wood line, and that will allow the Melkor to pretty much attack it from any direction. And obviously, we know the Huns' army is very fast and very mobile, very suitable for raiding, and that's one reason why it's such a popular setting on Vubli. So, really, Hera has probably been given a much worse map, which is going to be much more vulnerable to raiding, and I imagine Melkor will be looking to exploit that with aggressive play. For his part, though, Hera will probably be looking to relieve the pressure at home and go and try and put pressure on Melkor, because he doesn't really want to be having his having Melkor running circles around him with cavalry archers and potentially scouts and knights and things like that. But we'll see what kind of strategy each player chooses to go for. Melkor just found Hera's forward lumber camp. He's not actually aware of where the town centre is yet, but he will realise that this is quite far towards the middle of the map, and that Hera is potentially taking up an exposed position there. For his part, Hera is scouting around trying to find Melkor. He's discovered the TC, but he's not yet gathered too much information about the layout of Melkor's base and the resources. Hera with 4 villagers on the lumber camp, so it seems that he is planning potentially to do a drush, although that would be the most common thing you'd see and expect when you see a player with 4 on wood, although I didn't see if he went 4 on wood straight away. Likewise, Melkor, I didn't pay attention initially as to whether he went 3 or 4 on wood. It is getting to the point where you start to have more villagers on wood anyway, because you want to end up with 10 on wood if you go with scouts. Go up to do scouts, should I say. So that I should have probably checked that earlier to see if a drush was actually happening. No, sorry, we are way past the point where a drush would be coming out, because normally you see a player probably putting down their barracks at about 6:30, and we haven't seen either player trying to do that. Sorry, momentarily sleeping there. Just reading the chat, I can see Clemenceau is trying to do his little quote that he managed to make for me. A fail SMB streaming them. Well, I did just do a fail already myself by not paying attention to the game clock and to see whether a dash was coming in. In fact, both players clicking up even at times that would suggest a scout rush. 21 pop scouts, quite a common strategy. Some scouting engagement here. It seems that Melkor has come away from that with a very slight advantage, but that's going to be lost if Hera is able to take the hill against him here. A lot of intense micro, but neither player will be willing to commit to this and actually lose their scout. Because of course the scouting information is just so important. Especially for Hera on a map where if he loses his scout, he's going to be vulnerable to pretty much anything because he has absolutely no way to close off that map that he has, whereas Melkor's map is indeed much, much better, as someone from the chat has mentioned. Feels like Hera's taking a lot of unnecessary hits just trying to run around in a circle here. It's going to be coming off much worse from that little scout skirmish. Hera placing his barracks forward of this area of the map, as we identified early on. It is going to be very important that he keeps this locked down. You can imagine if Melkor got archers or anything here, or even came forward with a tower or something, it would just be an absolute disaster, because in terms of good wood lines, Hera has basically nothing else. These two are so far away and have very few trees there, so it's no surprise that Hera is going to be concentrating his production around this area of the map. Spear coming out immediately for Hera. It looks like he's going to be sending that forward with his initial scout rush, which is a very nice thing to do because it allows you to fight off your opponent's scouts if they don't do the same thing and win that initial scout engagement. This kind of a cat and mouse game between the scouts still going on over this hill, but it looks like Hera is... That's quite nice. He's actually managed to lure it straight to that forward spear, so despite the fact that initially he was losing quite a lot of HP on his scout unnecessarily, the ploy has worked and he's now going to have an extra scout on the field, even if it is at low HP. Right now both players just with a couple of new scouts from their stables, but it seems like Hera is going to be the aggressor in this map, which in this game, which is fortunate for him. Melkor is heading out to go and see if he can put in a raid on Hera's base potentially, but Hera is going to appear in his base more quickly, and that may cause him to turn back. Hera still has 3 scouts and a spear alive here, but whether that actually prompts Melkor's scouts to return or not, we shall see. It seems like Melkor is going to commit to just raiding Hera anyway, whilst getting out additional spears to defend at home. Alt plus G, please. Yeah, I should actually put on team colours, because although I think it's easy enough to see in the game, it's actually, I guess it is quite difficult to tell on the minimap, but I should do that once the action calms down. Melkor trying to probe away at Hera's wood line, but there is a spear there, and Hera left his kind of 3rd and 4th or 4th and 5th scouts, depending on which way you look at it, in his base to defend this all-important area. This looks like a good moment to turn the team colours on. Where is it? There we go. Right, so just to highlight what colours they've just changed into, Hera is now in red and Melkor in blue. Seems like Melkor realising that he's not really going to be able to do too much to this area with the scouts of Hera being there as well as a couple of spears. He's opting to return to his base. Melkor gone quite late on gold here, so if he chooses to do bloodlines, it could be coming in a little bit later. And Hera's might be coming in a little bit earlier. Hera also thinking about archery range, which is the kind of standard Huns play that we're seeing here, to start off with some scouts and then transition into archers, potentially with some more scouts as well, depending on how heavily a player wishes to commit to feudal. But Melkor not doing quite the same thing. He's opting for a blacksmith first. You can see that Hera also has more villagers on gold, which reveals his intention to actually make that archer transition. Whereas if Melkor does indeed do that, he will be thinking about doing it a little bit later on, continuing to increase his scout numbers actually. And I'm going to guess we will see bloodlines and maybe something from the blacksmith coming in. But Hera on 2 ranges now at the moment. If you want to see the brackets for this tournament, I will actually pause the recorded game and just link you to those, because it'd be nice for you guys to see the matches that are coming up. I'm just going to put those... Oh, somebody has done it. Well done, thank you. Okay, restarting the game then in that case. Just make sure we're on the right speed. Speed 50, that's correct. So both players have been massing up scouts. Melkor's on to about 8 or so at the moment. Hera seems to have similar numbers there. I'm not going to bother switching a point of view just to count them. But Hera will be being reinforced by archers. Bloodlines for Melkor coming in. I don't think Hera's done that. No, he has not done it and is not doing it. So if Melkor manages to patrol in here, then he could take a nice fight. But with 3 spears from Hera coming in, he really wants to get out of there now. Obviously you couldn't see that until the last second, but that was a nice reaction from him, turning away, avoiding having a few scouts just pulverised by 3 spears, which is really deadly to scouts if they're not like sort of swarming a spear and focusing it down before it could do more than a hit or 2. Wheelbarrow coming in for Hera, which is going to boost his farming economy. I didn't see Melkor do that. So that's a potential economic difference between the 2 players. Scale barding armor coming in for Melkor as well, so he's committing to quite a heavy scout build. He's got bloodlines, he's got scale barding armor, and he's got more scouts than Hera at this point. But Hera feels sort of safe here. He's got 5 spears in total, archers garrisoned in his ranges, and although these scouts may kill a couple of spears and force some idle time, he doesn't, like, he's confident enough to actually send his scouts over to Melkor. Then again though, that is a lot of scouts, and 2 spears going in piecemeal and then 3 spears won't necessarily ward them away completely. But it seems there are going to be no villager kills here, and this is a really nice trap for Hera actually. Scouts picked up a couple of hits, and then the archers popping out and sniping down HP of some of the scouts and killing one, forcing them away as well. Those scouts really do need to turn back. I thought for a second he was going to sort of hit reverse into the spears, but then a sort of second trap, if you like, sprung by Hera with his own scouts, which now outnumber Melkor's, patrolling back into Melkor's as they retreat. So that was a really nice play by Hera. He sort of had Melkor's scouts dancing to his tune then as they sort of like made their way around his base trying to find them, picking up a couple of kills and then just getting free hits on them when they were being forced to retreat. Still though, more scouts coming out from Melkor in a second stable. And we could potentially see a big scout engagement here, but Hera doesn't want to take that. He's got no bloodlines and he's got no +1 armour and rightly retreats. But this could be a good fight with the archers coming in at the top of the hill. If Hera actually manages to keep the blue scouts down the slope, then that would have been a very nice engagement. Melkor's not foolish enough to take that though. He's going to retreat now. So we're seeing a lot of sort of back and forth cat and mouse here from both players. There have been no sort of massive engagements thus far. Melkor's scout army looking quite threatening now though. He's got a lot of numbers there, and if he manages to sort of catch the archers in the wrong place and just swarm them, then those archers could be in a lot of trouble. So Hera just needs to play this carefully at the moment. It's not that Melkor's army is necessarily better, but if his army gets caught in the open, then just as this is about to potentially happen here, then that's going to be very dangerous. Fortunately, Hera has spears close by, and that's going to most likely force Melkor to go back, but it doesn't look like he's actually going to do that. He's going to take the fight against multiple spears, and that is looking like quite a bad fight for him, because all of his scouts are going to go down, whilst Melkor still has, sorry, Hera still has at least 10 or so archers, and Hera actually on his way to the Castle Age now, so that's going to be quite a deadly army of crossbowmen in just a couple of minutes' time. Meanwhile, Melkor just about only now doing wheelbarrows, so this large farming economy that he hasn't been running on optimum efficiency. He's doing forging now, but he's just lost all of his scouts. So that's quite unfortunate that when you're doing an upgrade for an army that doesn't exist anymore. And really, the scouts aren't going to cut it in just a moment's time, because in about a minute Hera will be hitting the Castle Age, he will be getting crossbowmen, and he will be getting the +2 attack and range that comes in with Bodkin Arrow at the blacksmith. Melkor knows that he's in very dangerous territory now. I don't know if he was watching Hera's score to see if Hera clicked up or not, but he's nevertheless being forced into dropping 2 towers on his main gold. Hera may catch those villagers out before the towers are up though, and pick up a couple of kills, aided by the downhill advantage here. And that second tower may not go up if Hera positions his archers over here, picking up more villagers on the gold as well. This has been a really nice engagement from Hera. A lot of the time when you are going up to the next stage, it's tempting to kind of preserve your army until you gain that technological advantage, but Hera knew that Melkor had lost pretty much all of his army, and would have very little defence at home, so he went just kind of move in anyway, even though he hadn't yet upgraded his units, because he knew he could do so much damage at that point. That is indeed what happened, and Melkor, recognising that Hera was likely to be up very, very soon, even though he hadn't actually got there, has conceded the game, because he knows that in a moment he's going to have 10 or 15 crossbows in his base, and with just a few feudal age scouts and no chance to get to the Castle Age anytime soon, he knows he can't defend his base at that point. So that was really well played by Hera, I think, because he had a terrible map, but what he did was he just created a good enough defence in this area that Melkor could never really hit him, because this area was key to, maintaining control of this area is key to him remaining in the game, and he just kind of lured Melkor into a bad fight here, unless maybe Melkor misjudged it perhaps, but I think he should have retreated, but it's possible that he just didn't realise that there were maybe 3 or 4 spears in amongst all those sort of whirlwind of bodies. I don't know, because I would have expected him to have turned back from there. Anyway, we shall just have a quick look at the achievements and then jump out for game 2. So, Melkor with a slightly higher villager high, well, that's inevitable because Hera was going up to the Castle Age, and that villager count would have likely equalised. Obviously, many of those went down at the end, so it was probably about 40 villagers by the time the GG was called. Melkor with more food, but that's inevitable when you're going to make as many farms as he did. He was going for that very food-heavy, double-stable scout build. And obviously Hera collecting a lot more gold because he was doing archers. We can see though that the game pretty much turned in that one key engagement in front of Hera's archery ranges, where Melkor moved in and lost all of his scouts, and that's reflected in the kill to death ratio.